quest for good content. What's good? Welcome to another installment of Song of the Week. I'm one of your hosts, three of us today, the curators of the channel. Bill Farrow here with Jordan Bell and David Grunfeld. You're going to see us three permeate some more aspects of the channel as we keep growing this thing out. So not to overwhelm you, but I guess you're going to get 3 songs today. Let me pass it to Jordan real quick. Jordan, master of the channel, feels like you should kick us off here. How you been? What have you been listening to? What's the latest and greatest?
Yeah, so as master of the channel, as Bill likes to call me, which I still, I still don't love, but we can roll with that. Bandana Bill, as we've started to call him now. Yes. But no, no, man, I'm good. I've had a very lazy. Lazy is probably the wrong word because we've gotten a lot done as a collective this weekend. But when we haven't been working, I have been doing nothing and laying in the bed, watching Netflix, watching a lot of good shows. I've been watching. I just finished the documentary on how we killed Osama bin Laden, which I'm always fascinated by any content around that. So no, man, I've had a chill, relaxing weekend and I'm excited to talk about a little bit of music, but before we do that, why don't we check in with our guy, David? David, how you doing?
What's up, boys? Great to be here with you. As always, excited to talk a little bit of music. It's been a kind of a tumultuous couple days here in the city that I am from and live in Los Angeles. When this comes out, this will have been old news probably at this point, but, ICE raids all over the city, people fighting back and protesting and being detained. And it's been wild. It feels kind of surreal, but also not surprising given where we're at right now in our country. So thankfully me and my family, everybody I'm close to is safe. But I'm gonna touch on that a little bit more in my song of the week here. But independent of that, all good, and excited to be chatting with you boys here.
Lovely. Bill, why don't you?
Good deal.
Bill, why don't you go first? We've gone around the horn? Why don't you start us off with a little bit of music?
Get it going, Bandana Bill.
Sure. Bandana Bill. A new persona has now permeated my psyche, which is great. The other ones are a little bit more inappropriate.
The bandana just seeps into your brain, osmosis through the dome. Yeah.
Exactly. Depending on the color is not a mood ring, by the way, because I know I've usually worn black. My song of the week, I've been spinning a lot of different stuff. But I keep coming back to Mary Jane Girls, particularly the song You Are My Heaven. It's the first song on the B-side of a vinyl I've been spinning a lot recently. Now, for those of you who are uninitiated, maybe don't know, or just need a refresher, Mary Jane Girls, lead singer JoJo McDuffie, or Joanne McDuffie, if I'm remembering correctly, was like one of the main lead singers for Rick James for a number of years. And those backup singers ended up becoming a subsidiary group to kind of fuel a little bit of the rivalry with Prince and his all-female group Vanity Six. So the Mary Jane Girls had a great run. All Night Long is probably one of their most known songs, Candyman, and one other that I'm not thinking of. But from, I think, 1979 to basically 1987, they were a force. And Rick James wrote most of their songs, obviously in collaboration with them, I'm assuming, but really just showing the dexterity and the flexibility of Rick James's pen. But You Are My Heaven is an amazing song to me, and the reason I like it is because of how it builds. It has like almost a lullaby quality to the beginning with like this twinkling kind of set of keys from kind of like a toned down muted-esque piano. Then you have like that usual cymbal on a drum kit shimmering effect that leads into a really nice build with JoJo McDuffie just kind of outlining how much love they feel in their relationship. And there's this sweltering capability. There's this kind of Sandy Stylistics guitar in the background. If you know the Stylistics soul group, you might know what I'm talking about, but nonetheless, I'll just leave it at that. And the vocals and the harmonization and the hook is what gets me every time. Hopefully you go listen to it so you can experience it for yourself. But to hear a group that was real hot for like a 6, 7, 8 year period capitalize on that momentum, be an extension of Rick James, but obviously their own amalgamation and their own group to begin with, feels equal parts historic, feels equal parts kind of like I guess it gives like totality and breadth to like the stretch and the reach of Motown. And that's why I just love this song. I keep spinning it. I keep going back to it on vinyl, keep going back to it on Apple Music. And they were inducted into the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame, I think, in 2019. So it just goes to show you can be red hot for less than 10 years and still have a real impact. So You Are My Heaven, Mary Jane Girls is my song of the week.
I love that. What time are we looking? Is that like early 80s? When would that have come out?
What stand by. I think this is their second album that it's off of. Give me 1 second. Let me punch in real quick.
While you do that, shouts out to Rick James. I like
83.
Okay, 83. All right, so yeah, that's about what I was thinking. Yeah, that's dope, man. That's a good pick.
Great
Yeah,
pick.
man.
Dipping into the Rick James pool, a pool that we haven't swam in yet on Song of the Week. I love it.
That's a deep pool.
Yeah.
That's a
For
deep
sure.
pool.
Deep
Yeah.
water there. Yes.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
You can really, on that note, you can really tell that he wrote a lot of these songs because a lot of the vocal tendencies that translate over to these ladies when they're singing, you can tell like, oh, that's a Rick James run or that's a Rick James bass line. I don't know if he's the best bass player ever. I don't know the nuances of guitar history like that, but I do know that he probably has maybe the most unique bass that I've ever heard. And so, you know, in addition to the Mary Jane Girls, I've been running Street Songs from 1981 just over and over and over.
Nice.
Because that album has Give It To Me Baby, Ghetto Life, Make Love to Me, Super Freak, Fire and Desire, and Mr. Policeman, all in the same album. Like that's
Bill,
a heck of a collection.
if we were on the Hit Cycle podcast, Bill, you would call that a super classic right there. That's
I probably would call it a super classic.
Absolute banger right there of an album. Yeah.
This may be a dumb question, but I'm assuming the Mary Jane Girls are the ones that sing Mary Jane in the background of that song.
So when they toured, yes. So that was like his whole. So a little bit of history on that, if I can remember off the top of my head. The Mary Jane Girls were obviously an homage to Rick James's favorite recreational drug, and he wanted them to be characterized in 4 different aspects because there was 4 of them. There was like the Valley Girl. There was like the kind of badass. There was 2 other kind of character archetypes that filled in. That were kind of built around this motif. But yeah, they were his backup singers for, I don't know how much of his career, but enough of his career where he and JoJo or Joanne McDuffie had a strong enough relationship where he's like, I want her to be a solo act. But apparently there was some miscommunication. So instead of her being a solo act, the Mary Jane Girls became a solo act.
Interesting.
So there you go. But, you know, that's me rambling into music history. We're supposed to be a little bit shorter, cleaner on this segment. Supposed to be. But white bandana might mean I'm a little more long-winded. Who knows?
I love it. All right. Good deal. Well, then I'll jump into mine since are you good with yours, Bill?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry for taking a little longer than usual.
No, we're all good, man. All right. Well, I'll jump right into mine. So, like I said, I've been chilling the last couple of days watching some Netflix. We just got back from a big trip, and then I had to hop right back into work. So in my free time, I have been crushing the Netflix. Well, there's been 2 things that I've been watching a lot, but number 1 is The Chi, and then number 2 is I've been watching the show called Forever on Netflix. And Forever, for those who haven't seen it, it's kind of like this black teenage love / coming of age story. And if you haven't checked it out, man, definitely go check it out. The cool thing about this show that I really like is it's this black story that doesn't feel like it needs to give the audience an explanation about its blackness. The show just is what it is, and you can choose to enjoy it or not, right? And so, you know, sometimes there are these shows that try to make people feel comfortable, like culturally try to make people feel comfortable with their culture. And this show hasn't done that. This show is just like, look, this is what we're bringing to the table. And it's going to be a story about black people. And I really, really enjoyed that show. And I actually just finished it this morning when I texted you guys if you guys wanted to do a podcast, because there was a song on there that I really liked. And the last episode, these 2 teenagers go to prom. And during the prom episode, they play a song by H.E.R. called Every Kind of Way off of her first album, the self-titled album, H.E.R. And it's just a cool song that drives the narrative forward of the TV show in a perfect way. The show in general is scored really, really well. David and I were talking earlier. I'm curious if some of the people that worked on Issa Rae's Insecure also worked on this show, because the way the show is scored is done very, very, very well. And then this song by her is beautiful, man. It's like it's a melodic song that makes you feel nostalgic but comfortable at the same time. Like the instrumentals are just very, very soothing, especially at the beginning. The kind of lead up into the song is really beautiful. And then the lyrics are, I would say, gentle and soothing, right? My favorite lyric from that song is, "If the world should end tomorrow and we only had today, I'm going to love you in every kind of way." And I don't listen to a ton of her, but I went back and listened to this album after I heard this song, and this is a really great album. Her's a great artist for sure. And so my song of the day is going to be "Every Kind of Way" by her.
Excellent choice. Excellent artist as well. I'm not not as deeply versed in her music either, but from what I have heard, really, really cool. And yeah, it sounds like a show worth checking out for sure. It sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, I love it.
What I love about her in particular is she kept her face hidden for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
So she could just really, really make it about the music,
Right.
which, for somebody that young at the time, she was doing that. Yeah, it's like there's like, we're children of the internet, so the total package is important from the visual to the talent. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can skew the percentages, but like doubling down on your talent and your ability and making it as much about the music as possible. I mean, it obviously paid off. She's a star in every sense of the word.
Yeah, no doubt.
Other really good artists have done the same thing, right? Like Lady Gaga did that. Like, I don't really remember seeing her face until she did that movie, which was awesome.
Sia
I was
did that for a long time.
And it's kind of taking from, if you go back even further, like Daft Punk in the EDM,
mm-hmm.
Scene. And oh man, I'm blanking on another DJ who Deadmau5.
Deadmau5.
Yeah, Deadmau5, who, he's been very open talking about how that was about the music, but it was also for him, right? As an artist, it helped him free himself up and say, I have the mask on. Another one that may be the most obvious example, MF Doom for us and the music that we listen to,
for sure,
being able to create a persona, a character that allows you to go creatively to places that maybe you otherwise would feel restricted by if you weren't doing that. It's really cool, really interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's something to be said about being able to make what you want, but also being able to go to the grocery store.
Yes.
I think
especially
Ninth Wonder said something about that.
Yeah. In today's day and age. And Bill, that's as good a transition as I'm going to get into my song of the week with Ninth Wonder there, because Ninth Wonder does feature in my song of the week this week. I mentioned during my intro, it's been kind of a hectic time here in Los Angeles. There's a lot going on, with all the chaos really in the streets right now. So I'm going back to another chaotic time in our country's recent history with my song of the week, which is Freeze Tag by Terrace Martin, Robert Glasper, produced by Ninth Wonder off of the album Dinner Party, which came out in 2020, right after the murder of George Floyd and all of the protests and reactions that were happening all across the country, all across the world, really, after that happened. And I've found myself drawn back to this song and this album, really, namely because it feels, unfortunately, still appropriate for what we're seeing now unfold. But it's to me one of the best examples of a song that is very clearly about a subject matter. Freeze tag referring to the police telling people to put their hands up behind their head, persecuting minorities, all the things that those protests were about. But it's also about the larger thing, the larger system, the larger things that are in place that oppress people, that make people lesser than. But it's done in a way where this song and this album are beautiful, and there's a soul and a groove to this song that keeps your head bobbing as this message is kind of washing over you. And for me, it's, I know Bill and I have talked about this a lot. We come from an era where we grew up on quote unquote conscious rap, conscious music. Which I know, Bill, you did Marvin Gaye for your song of the week not that long ago. It's not a new concept about having a conscious message in music that you're putting out. But I think in at least in our lifetimes, since, when I say conscious music, I would think of like Lupe or Common or Talib Kweli, Mos Def / Yasiin Bey. It had a moment in the pop culture zeitgeist. And then I think this page turned where people maybe viewed it as corny or viewed it as something that wasn't really valid or, didn't have a place in the larger ecosystem. And this song, Freeze Tag, I think is such a great example of that not being true. It's a real piece of music that, Ninth Wonder is one of the greatest producers of all time. Robert Glasper is maybe the preeminent jazz musician of our time. And then Terrace Martin is this incredibly soulful LA guy. They collaborate to make something powerful that if you're not listening to the lyrics and you're just listening to the music, you can enjoy the music. And then when you let those lyrics wash over you, you're left thinking about stuff. You come out of the song with maybe more questions than you had when you first started listening to it. And that's a really kind of powerful piece of art to me. And the larger point or the larger kind of feeling that I'm left with is, when shit pops off, for lack of a better term, and people are being violated or being oppressed or detained or whatever's happening right now in my city, in our city, I think oftentimes art is sidelined or it's put off to the side to say there's bigger things to focus on, which can be true, but it's really important, I think, for us as a society to not do that entirely and know that expression and art and people being able to do what they need and want to do is crucially tied into the overall struggle against oppression and fascism, and music like the album Dinner Party and this song Freeze Tag are such crystal examples of that to me. And now more than ever, it's so important that we lean into that. And to zoom even further out, when we're not in such tense times, things like funding the arts in schools and giving kids a chance to actually have access to their own expression, to be able to discover what they like, what they're good at, what speaks to them. It's something that I'm always passionate about, but when shit gets hectic, I feel it's all the more important to double down and lean into that. So my song of the week is Freeze Tag. I highly encourage everybody to go check out the whole album, Dinner Party by Terrace Martin.
Beautiful choice.
Great pick.
Yeah, beautiful choice.
That's a great album.
It's a great album.
I remember spinning that. I was in Seattle at the time when that came out,
right.
And I just remember being like floored by it.
Totally.
But I also want to just double down on what you said, because maybe 1 or 2 or 3 episodes ago, I mentioned how art is inherently disruptive and it's inherently rebellious.
Yep.
And I kind of walked it back and saying that doesn't necessarily even have to be in hyper-political stuff, like a hyper-political thing. But I think inherently some percentage of it more or less always is unique thinking, giving your perspective on your surroundings in good and bad times is something that is inherently important. And I think I encourage people to always be creative and always find something that they can, a mechanism where they can express that. And so to hear you echo that again is I just want to double down on it one more time. Whether it's political or whether you think it's political or not, disruption is very important.
Yeah.
Because disruption makes change, which makes optimizations, so.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think is cool about our podcast is we all typically pick songs that have pushed something forward in our lives, right? Like the song I picked today, like it pushed forward this narrative of this story of Black love, right? The song that you're talking about is pushing forward a narrative, and that's what art is about, right? Like art is about keeping that ball rolling and making people uncomfortable or making you comfortable in a moment that you need the comfort the most. And so, yeah, it's all artistic. And I think we hope when people listen to our podcasts, they get that same feeling, right? Like this is kind of our artistic expression and our lane to be creative. And this it's a music is a beautiful thing for that exact reason.
And I'll close out my little thing by saying, like, especially now, right, with everything happening, not just in LA this weekend, but just, the general tone of especially our country right now, it's really overwhelming, right? It can be really overwhelming. Whatever side of the political spectrum you fall on, it's tense. There's a lot of stuff happening every day, all the time. Expressing yourself, being comfortable, being creative, or Jordan, like you said, finding the things that help you express as opposed to turn inward into yourself. It's some of the only things that we can control, right? It's up to us if we get to decide individually if we're going to express ourselves or not. And Bill, I triple down on what you're saying. That is inherently rebellious to the powers that be, whoever you view them as. You expressing yourself in a way that is coming from a place of love and coming from a place of community, even if that means challenging or pressing buttons. It's really powerful. And Jordan, like you said, I hope our channel can be a place where people feel inspired and empowered to do that, because now more than ever, it's really, really important. So yeah, thanks, boys. Nice comments there. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else before we get out of here?
Peace and love.
No, just as usual.
Peace and love.
Go listen to our suggestions.
There you go.
Especially if you've never heard of them.
Check out the playlist. Check out the playlist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Especially if you've never heard of some of this stuff before, right? Adding tools to the utility belt in any way, shape, or form is always important. So diversify the portfolio. It creates more wealth.
Absolutely.
To double down on a financial concept.
Wu-Tang Financial, you know? you got to listen to them. Yeah, no.
Bandana Bitcoin.
on that note, we're going to get out of here. If you guys are already subscribed to the channel, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, look in the link tree that's in the bio on all those platforms. You can get the link now to this podcast audioly. I don't know if that's a word.
I love that. I think that's a new word. You just made up. Yeah,
it is new word now. But if you want just the audio version of this podcast, the link to that is in the link tree. Everything else is available on all of our other platforms. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is that you're looking for. You can find us. The other thing I wanted to say is, moving forward, if you haven't already caught on, David is going to be a part of Song of the Week. The way we're going to do it is, as long as two of the three of us can get together, you're going to get an episode of Song of the Week. So any combination of two of the three guys that you see on your screen today are going to be giving you a Song of the Week every Tuesday moving forward. Until next time, this is Song of the Week. I'm Jordan. That's David. That's Bill. We're out of here. Peace.